What's going on, short men? I hope you guys are doing well, and welcome to another episode of the Short Men Only podcast. And today's episode, we are going to do something a little different. I'm going to begin this episode with a quote, and then I'm going to get into what we're going to talk about today. The quote says, "The greatness of a man is not in how much wealth he acquires, but in his integrity and his ability to affect those around him positively." I like that quote. That quote is by Bob Marley. And that last piece of that quote is kind of what we're going to talk about today. His ability to affect those around him. How can we affect more people around us? I was thinking about that. And one of the things, well, the thing I came up with is it all starts with us, short men. This is my public service announcement for short men today. And my public service announcement goes like this: be kind to yourself. You're like, wait, that just sounds so simple. It is simple, but hard to do. I want to talk, I'm going to tell you, for me, it has been one of the hardest things to do. I have been for, as long as I can remember, one of those people that really have a hard time being kind to myself. I look at my mistakes and be like, God dang it, Jaleel. How could you be such an idiot? How could you be so stupid? How could you have done that? Ah, why didn't you know this would affect this person like this? Or why didn't you get this right? Or why didn't you get that right? You're such a loser. That's how I used to talk to myself. I was not very kind to myself at all. If I had some doing something where I started getting some momentum in another area of my life, if it got off track even for a minute, it would derail my momentum in that other area. Because again, I start back with that negative self-talk, that crap. Well, can't believe you messed up over there while you were focused on something else. What's wrong with you? You're supposed to always be in complete balance. Like stuff like that. Ridiculous stuff. Stuff that is not helpful to say. So I've had to start working on being kind to myself. And why was this really important for me? Well, because I know if I didn't start being a little more kinder to myself, the chances of me being kind to anyone else were going to be a lot lower. And on top of that, if I wasn't kind to myself, I would not get very far with this Short Man Nation or this Short Man Only podcast, because I wouldn't have the energy to put into either one if I wasn't kind to myself. And you're like, well, what does being kind look like? Well, for me, it was, and it's going to be different for you because there's no two people the same. We do all go through similar things, but the exact area that you need to be kind to yourself in, I don't know. But I'm going to give you a few that I think you should think about. But first, I'm going to tell you some of the areas that I had to be kind to myself in. One of them is getting up to work out. I can't say to myself, hey, I want to put on more muscle. I want to be a better version of myself. But I'm not kind enough to myself to go to bed at a time that would allow me to get up. That is not being kind. So being kind is saying, hey, you want to get up in the morning. You want to be big and strong. So be kind to yourself and go to bed at a decent time so that when you get up in the morning, You're not saying, "Oh, I got to skip this workout," which then makes you feel bad because you can't keep your you feel like you can't keep your commitments. So be kind to yourself and just go to bed a little earlier. Also, being kind to myself is acknowledging that I'm not always going to get it right. I'm not always going to be perfect, but I do always plan to learn from any situation or mistake, good, bad, or indifferent. Sometimes I'm not always kind enough to myself to heed the lesson. So that's something I'm working on. Another way I'm being kind to myself is to, you know, if I tell myself I'm going to do something, then following through. Because it's important for me to be able to trust me. Now, if I tell myself something, hey, I'm going to do XYZ by this time frame, and then I don't do it, well, then, you know, I'm not building trust with myself. So those are some of the areas that, it's important for me to be kind to myself in. Now, yours may not be as, grandiose as those. Maybe you've got it all together in my short brother, and you're like, man, these are none of the areas I need to be kind to myself in. Cool. We'll start off with a few basic ones. One of them is being kind to yourself requires you to take a shower when you know you stank. When you know your booty stank, take a shower. That is being kind to yourself because you are not walking around smelling like a bag of manure when you know you stink. That is being kind to yourself. Another way to be kind to yourself would be to spend an extra 30 seconds looking in the mirror to make sure you've got your appearance together. Not for anybody else, but for you. Make sure, I don't care if you got torn clothes, whatever the case may be, my short brothers, that doesn't matter. What matters is, are they up on your shoulders right? Or is it just like you have on this shirt and it's just like bunched up, and you going out the house like that? No, straighten yourself out. Doesn't matter if it's brand new, whatever. Straighten yourself out. Straighten yourself up, straighten yourself out. That is what I'm saying when I say, take a few seconds to just check your appearance. And these are, I know you're like, oh, these are common sense, but they are common sense, but we don't all do them, or else I wouldn't be talking about them. And another area that we can be kind to ourselves, my brothers, is not beating yourself up like I said I was doing when you make a mistake. Stop. Don't beat yourself up. Don't be, because this is what it really looks like. You're doing this to yourself. You're just beating yourself up. Like, this is stupid. Like, who would sit there and just do this? This looks dumb. But that is what we do when we talk bad about ourselves when we make a mistake. And another way you can be kind to yourself is realizing that this life of yours is a marathon, not a sprint. There may be some things that you want right now that they're just out of your grasp. But it doesn't mean you won't get them in life. They're just right now, they are out of your grasp, out of your frame of reference, out of your peripheral, right? So keeping in mind that it's a marathon, baby. So you can go at a decent pace. You're not going to sprint all the way to where you want to be in the next 5 minutes. And nor should that be your desire. Because then what will you do once you get there? Part of life is enjoying the moments along the way. Some will be good, some will be bad, but all of them will have lessons, the good and the bad. So be kind to yourself. It's a marathon, baby, not a sprint. Another area to be kind to yourself is, or I think it, I think it forces you when you're kind to yourself, it forces you to talk to yourself like you're someone who matters. That's what it forces you to do. So you might look in the mirror and say, "Hey, I'm a handsome guy." Yeah, when you're kind to yourself, you can say that, right? And that feels good to be able to say, "Hey, you know, I'm a handsome guy," or, "I'm really doing my best." And I'm really, I'm just out here, man, and I'm striving, I'm learning, I'm doing all these things, right? That's when you can recognize those things within yourself, you start to talk nicer to yourself. And that's being kind. You don't have to, you're not walking around, and this is chatter for you to keep you going. You don't have to walk around trying to broadcast all of that to everybody. As long as you know, that's the most important part. Another way that you want to be kind to yourself is knowing when to, you may need a pick me up, or you may need something, you may need to phone a friend when you're not having the best day or the best morning. So knowing when to reach out to people to get what you need, whatever that may be, is being kind to yourself. Like this morning for me. Ooh, I hate that I said, I'm working on not saying the word like in this podcast because it's not proper English. And so I'm trying to keep it out. Anyway, I digress. For me today, uh, I was having one of those mornings, and I took out my phone, texted a friend, and said, "Hey, I could use some encouragement today. What kind of word do you have for me?" And boom, that's when they text me back the Bob Marley quote. And I said, "Thank you." That was all I needed. I read it. It was right on target for, what I feel like I needed to hear. And I just thanked them and went on with my day. Sometimes that's all you need is that ability to say, you know, I'm going to be okay, but I'm struggling today. And I just need to reach out to someone, for a little encouragement. Now, that's what I want you to think about when it comes to, being kind. There's so many other ways. You know, uh, Putting your foot down in a situation where you feel like, hey, this person might be taking advantage of me. I need to put my foot down. That's being kind to yourself. It's it's okay. It's okay to be kind to yourself. It's okay to do that. It's okay to say, hey, you know what? I'm not feeling real good about this right now. So I'm gonna have to put my foot down, or whatever the case may be. And how this ties into the quote is this: when we are kind to ourselves, it makes it much more likely that we have room and space to be kind to someone else, which then has the ability to affect those around you positively. Now, it goes almost the same way. When you are in one of those moods and negative spaces and you bring that around other people, it is going to affect them negatively too. So when we're kind to ourselves, it gives us more of that positively and that positive juice that we could give to others. Part of me feels like that probably wasn't the best word for that, but we'll roll with it. It's what I got. Okay. So my short brothers, I want you guys to be kind to yourselves. Stop beating yourselves up mentally for what height you don't have or what one woman that you're interested in that won't give you the time of the day. Be kind to yourself. And in that situation, you're just telling yourself, hey, she's not the only woman on earth. I'm not going to die if she doesn't want to be with me. I will find someone else. And that's another thing that happens. When you are kind to yourself, you're able to reframe setbacks or failures or whatever the case may be. So in that case, what I just did was, yes, this woman rejected you. Okay, well, cool. That is her loss for rejecting me over something superficial. Like if she rejected you because of your height, that's her loss. And I dodged the bullet because I'm not entertaining a woman who was superficial enough not to want to date me because I wasn't a certain height. So you got to learn. It helps you reframe things. It's not making you delusional. You understand that the woman didn't want to date you because of your height, but you're reframing how you will allow it to affect you. Because if you just take it as, hey, she doesn't like me because of my height, then you're going to just start down this spiral of, dang, wishing you could change something that you cannot change. Your height is your height. So it helps us reframe. My brothers, figure out what area of your life you need to be more kind to yourself, and then practice. Slow progress is better than no progress. So practice being kind to yourself. It's going to feel weird at first, trust me. It feels, very strange to not want to beat myself up every time I make a mistake. That feels very awkward. But when I think about what it actually looks like on the inside, it just doesn't make sense. So, be kind to yourself. I need you to be kind to yourself so that way you can be kind to someone else. And we, as short men, can start positively affecting way more lives because we started being kind to ourselves. I know it's possible. I know we can do it. So let's get it done. All right? It's Jalal Wilson with the Short Men Only podcast. And I thank y'all for tuning in. And I want to thank myself for showing up and getting this done today because, man, today was one of them days. But I'm going to see y'all next time. Thank y'all for tuning in. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, please comment. Let me know what you thought of the episode. Follow the channel if you're not following already. And if you're listening to this in podcast land, give me some 5 stars. We need to get this message to more short men, and I cannot do it without you. All right, so be blessed. Till next time.